I call to order the May 31st, 2011 meeting of the Land Use Committee. Our quorum is those of us that are here. Councilor Anderson is not with us today, so I need a motion for approval of the minutes from Monday, March 28th.
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We're going to start right away with the rental housing registration process update. Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith with the Office of Planning and Building Services. Also for this item, we have in the audience Ron Bell with Building Services and Mike Cooper with Planning. If you recall, we brought this proposed ordinance modification to the Land Use Committee a few months ago. Essentially, what we're requesting to do is to remove the 3-year requirement to renew rental housing registrations. Now, we do favor rental housing registration. We just think it should be done on an as-needed basis. Essentially, if there's a change in ownership, any modification to the structure, etc., to have the permit be brought forward again to us, rather than making everyone go through it every 3 years, which
Arguably, thank you, will make it a little more efficient, both for rental owners and the citizens as well. So we have in the past presented copies of this to the South Dakota Multi-Housing Association. There was one minor modification from the last version you saw. We had some redundant language at the very end of the ordinance. It was actually, there's language that was in there twice regarding revocation of the residential rental permit. That has been moved to section 11-113. So there was some language that we had proposed to add in 11-117, which was basically the same language. So the version that Ron handed out this afternoon has removed the redundant language. We haven't received any comments regarding the ordinance change since it was last presented, although I understand there's folks here from the Multi-Housing Association, and if you have any questions, either Ron or Mike and I hopefully can answer them.
Let's start with that. Questions from the committee for Kevin. Clarifications on the ordinance itself. We've looked at this pretty extensively. So, okay. Thank you, Kevin. And we'll hear from the audience if there are folks here that would like to talk with us about this particular ordinance. If you'd come forward to the microphone and state your name, please.
Dan Sifkin, Executive Director for the South Dakota Multi-Housing. The city's worked real well with our legislative committee and went through this. We feel that it's a good move because it was extensive doing it every year, and I think it saves both the city time and the management companies and the owners of properties.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience or from the committee?
One thing.
Yes. Councilor Rolfing.
Any way that we're going to be able to, I don't want to say enforce, but to get more people involved in this under this regulation so that we have a better idea of, some of the mom and pops out there that have the apartment in the basement kind of thing?
That's something that we struggle with internally, is how to get those 1 or 2 unit owners into the system. And our plan is to work as closely as we can with the Multi-Housing Association to not only get them into the rental housing program, but also into that association as well. That I think we do have the public's interest at heart here with this ordinance, because, for example, one of the reasons we would like to have the information up to date and accurate is that if we have a weed complaint, for example, we don't want to have to go mow people's yards and charge them a $100 citation plus the mowing fee. We would like to know who the property owner is, who the property manager is, and give them the opportunity in that 7 days. But If we don't have the most up-to-date information, we go with what we have, and then ultimately those folks come in front of you saying, well, I didn't get the letter, or nobody told me. So it's mutually beneficial to the owners, to the city, to have the information up to date, and we're just trying to get the word out there. And every time we have an opportunity to be in front of you or in front of the media, that's our message, is this doesn't cost anything to get the registration. But if you don't, there's definitely costs that are going to come after it, especially if there's some sort of violation we have to follow up on.
Councilor Karski.
That was my question. What are the costs? What are the repercussions for not registering?
Ultimately, it's a $100 citation, and if there's some other violation, such as sidewalk snow removal or a mowing issue with weeds and grass, it can be in the hundreds of dollars. So again, we're not out to see how many citations we can write. We're out for compliance. So it doesn't cost anything. You can do it online. You can stop in. We just want to know where these properties are at. So if there is an issue, we can get to the appropriate party as quickly as possible.
Sounds good.
Any other questions from the committee? I have just a couple, if I could. One, in the time that we've had this registration process, Kevin, how many actual permits have we pulled, registrations?
I don't recall us ever having revoked a rental permit since it's been in place.
Is that because we just have really great property owners, or are we too nice, or what is it that keeps us from doing that?
I would say we're probably too nice. Of those two choices, there are definitely properties out there that would meet the criteria. One of the things that we talked about just today was a property that may be a candidate for something like that. But it is something that we wouldn't move forward without very strong evidence and definitely giving the owner the property to step forward and make things right.
Well, I don't ask that question to pick on you or to suggest that we have bad property owners. I say it in terms of, because I've heard you over and over, and you said it again today, it's not our goal to write citations or to write tickets for people. You really, as a department, work hard with these folks, and I think that's important to note, that just because you're registered as a landlord of a property, rental property, it doesn't mean that we're going to go in there and take your property away or take your registration away or whatever. It's really about that information piece of it. So,
well, if you look at our mission, it is to provide equal protection for property owners as it is for the people who call and say, hey, my neighbor hasn't done this or my landlord hasn't done that, that there are at least two sides to every story. So in the case of a notice to vacate or when we send out a notice and order for demolition, it's because there have been an arm's length list of problems. And those take time from our inspection staff, our code enforcement staff, that we would just as soon shorten up and have people fix what needs fixing. And it's really not fair to lump in to the same bucket the landlords who never have a problem, who do take care of their property. So this isn't meant to cast aspersions on them. So we try and keep a level playing field for everyone.
mm-hmm. Good. Thanks, Kevin. Any other comments from the committee? Seeing none, we have looked at this particular ordinance, and it's been gone through by the city attorney's office. I would entertain a motion to move this forward as it is written to the full council.
So moved.
And second, have you got a date in mind?
Can we calendar it now, or do we want to just pick a date? Good question, Councilor Walthing. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
if I may. I think we'll have that available for signature, so we'll have that on the June 13th to make the deadline. We'll need it in by the 10 o'clock deadline for June 6th, which would be very easy to maintain. So it'll have the first reading on June 13th, second reading on the 20th.
Okay. And just for clarification, do you need council signatures on this, or is it?
Because it comes through committee, we ask that the council sponsor this. Of
And
course,
you-
we worked with planning, so it is a group effort, but
Right.
your sponsorship.
But you'll email us when it's available for us to run in and sign.
Thank you.
We have a motion on the table to move this forward to the full council to be on the agenda for first reading June 13th. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion passes, so we'll go to first reading. Thank you, guys. Next item on the agenda, transit route updates. And you're not Mike Cooper, even though that's what it says on my agenda. Hello, Deborah. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Deborah Gaikowski, Transit Planner with the city. Got a couple of little topics I wanted to discuss today. First of all, 2 months ago I was here at the Land Use Committee, and it was quite obvious that the committee wanted to move forward with the grid study, which compares the grid system with a hub and spoke system. Just to give a little update on where we're at with that. We are going to run that process through the Metropolitan Planning Organization. 81.95% of the costs of the study will be paid for with transit planning funds through that organization. So the city will be charged, I believe it's 18.05%. That went before the UDC last week and was approved, so we'll keep moving forward with that. So I just want to give you an update on that. One other thing, a few months ago we came out with a reloadable fare card for our transit users. And it's a free card. It's like a credit card. They come in. You can either load it with a pass or you can load it with cash. So every time they get on the bus, it removes a certain dollar amount. Part of that process is if the transit user were to lose it, or if it was stolen or something, we would like to have a fee in the ordinance that states that we can charge $5 for a replacement. I'd like to bring that before the city council here within anytime soon, I guess, whenever it's convenient. But just wanted to make you aware of that and let you know what that's all about. And it's been very popular so far. We've sold a lot of them, so we're pretty happy about that. One other thing, I presented the transit development plan at an informational meeting a few months ago. Part of that plan was some transit route changes. There were 3 routes that never got approved at that time, and it's Route 10, 11, and 12. 12 we wanted to eliminate, 10 we wanted to shorten up, 11 we kind of made it a little bit longer to take care of the shortening up of Route 10. We pulled it from the agenda at that time, but we'd really like to come back to the City Council to get those route changes addressed again. As far as ridership right now, overall our ridership with transit has been pretty steady, down just maybe like 1 or 2%. As far as individual routes, the Route 10 itself has dropped about 5%. Route 2 has been huge, it's like 17% increase. But the Route 12, which is the one I'm sure you're most interested in, has actually doubled over this period from this year over last year. So what that means is, put that in context, about 250 rides last year per month. It's about a little over 500 rides per month this year. Again, in comparison to our other routes, that nowhere near is close to the ridership on our other routes. We're in the thousands per month, some of them over tens of thousand rides per month. So it still does cost us quite a bit to provide those rides, and many times the bus is empty on that particular route. But just want to make you aware that the ridership has increased just slightly. So that's what I have to cover today.
Good. Thank you, Deborah. Thoughts from the committee about that particular, the routes 10, 11, and 12, I know that when we all 3 of us happened to be on UDC, so we did know that it had passed. We were pretty excited to be voting on that. I personally, if I might just step away and say, I'd like to see that study done before we make any more route changes, but what does the committee think?
When will that study be done?
We hope to have it completed by the end of this year.
It's going to take another 7 months, 6 months to do? Okay. May I?
Yes, go ahead, Councilor.
What do we feel we would increase ridership on other routes if we were to get rid of that one route?
We really feel that Route 10 would increase considerably, because right now it takes 1 hour to get from the downtown bus stop to the Southwest Center. And we hear complaints about that continuously. And it's a well-known fact among the transit industry that the shorter your route is, the more riders you get.
So
It's
would
just
we,
convenience.
if I could ask, I mean, considerably is kind of an arbitrary number. I mean, if we get rid of that one and there's 500 less rides given, are we talking 1,000, 2,000? How many more approximately do we have a feel that we would benefit?
You know, that's just about impossible to really project out and come up with a number. You know, we just know the routes, we know the ridership, we know what the ridership's been like on 10 and 11, and we just really feel strongly that it would go up, but to give an actual number, I really couldn't do that.
Okay.
Councilor Relton?
Deborah, let's talk 12. That 500 surprises me, from 250 to 500. Why has it gone up?
I'm not sure about that. Maybe the word got out when we started talking about taking it away.
Okay.
And we have to remember we're talking rides, we're not talking
Right.
riders, so it could be the same people riding more often. We just don't know that for
Or
sure.
just staying on the bus and riding it around, that kind of thing, not really?
It's calculated on boardings, so they would have to be getting off and getting back on.
Okay.
So
Have you calculated, or do you know when these people are getting on? Is there a certain time of the day when they're getting on and riding that bus? Because you're saying that there's a lot of times when that bus is empty.
I could find that out. Right at this time, I don't know that, but our
Okay.
fare boxes have the capability of telling
Would
us that.
appreciate when you come back knowing that. If there's a real busy time of the day, perhaps something could be arranged for that. That would be something I think would be very interesting. It would be to me anyway, especially on that route. That would be the piece of information I'd want to know when you come back on that. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Councilor Karski?
Do we have to stick with the routes, or I had one more question
Yeah, go
going
ahead.
back to the $5 charge. Have we had a problem with lost cards and that type of thing? Has there been a significant number? Is there a reason why we're looking at doing that?
The main reason is it costs us about $4 to buy those cards, and if we
Okay.
put a fee on it, we feel that people will be a little more careful about
Okay, so-
keeping track of them.
They get it for free, and it's costing
Exactly.
us $4, so, okay, that sounds fair. The other question with those cards, are they able to, do they have to come to you and give you a check, cash for the card? Are they able to go online and do anything that way? Is there
Unfortunately, we
anything-
don't have those capabilities yet. They do have to go to the downtown bus stop. That's the only place where they can buy them right now.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments for Deborah? Direction from the committee on routes 10, 11, and 12?
Just to pick a date when Councilor Jameson isn't here to do that grid thing, so that he won't be. Present that.
There's the whole
Here he is.
sign language thing. Hearing nothing from the committee, I guess it's up to the administration to decide if they want to bring it before council, but I'm not hearing this committee all excited about taking away or changing those at this point until that study might be done. Is that what I'm hearing from the committee, or?
I don't think we can wait that long. That's my personal view. I think they've done the studies on it. I would like to see some of that information on Route 12. The other ones, I think they've done the studies. They know what's going on with it. I've sat down with them personally and visited a couple weeks ago or a week ago. They know what needs to be done. That route number 10, I believe it is right now, that runs, it takes an hour plus to run from downtown and all the way around. That needs to be changed. People aren't going to ride for an hour to get on a bus, and that's part of the problem that we hear about the mess that we've got, if you will. And so some of those things need to be changed. And so I would like to see them come before this and at least make their presentation and bring the ordinance.
Okay. Councilor Karski?
And I'm going to echo those feelings. I mean, it's an hour the first ride, then if you get done with work, it's another hour going back. So, I mean, it gets to be a long day.
Yeah.
And, we have to trust what they do, I guess. And I know there was a small public outcry on that route here a couple of months ago, but we have to look at what benefits
Right.
more people versus, I mean, I'd like to give everybody a free ride, but we have to look at for the greater numbers, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
So I would move that we invite them back with the ordinance at the earliest possible
Okay.
time.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the table to encourage the administration to bring that forward.
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, get it on the calendar, guys. Since that one's coming from administration, it's not technically coming through us. Am I doing this right? Yeah.
Yes, well, if the committee wants to review that change and send it to committee first, you may want to do that as opposed to sending it straight to the council. Sometimes moving these issues forward, it's great to have a recommendation from the council moving something forward to a first reading. Just a thought.
Right.
And that's what I meant, a recommendation.
Let me just throw this at you, though. Over the next 2 months, this committee is packed full on agenda items.
It doesn't have to come to us anymore.
Okay.
We told them to come to
You're
the council.
okay for it to go to council with with the information that you're asking for now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, so that's clear, that's good for everybody? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Great, okay, next on the agenda is Chapter 24, Licensed Manufactured Home Parks Ordinance Amendment. Shauna.
Thank you. My name is Shauna Goldhammer. I am the Zoning Enforcement Manager. I think this is the first time. Now do you have 4 committee members
Yes,
on
we
this?
do.
Okay,
Councilor
so you
Anderson is not with us this evening. So
Very good.
yes.
As you may recall, there was some concern by the City Council regarding manufactured home parks, and primarily some homes that had been moved into the city that were not habitable. And what can we do? And we took a look at the Section 24 of the Code of Ordinances, which is the licensing of the manufactured home parks within the community. We just wanted to get this in front of you. We have had one open house with and invited the licensed manufactured home park managers and owners to that, held May 10th. We had a good turnout and a good discussion. Just wanted to bring this forward to you and let you know that we're working on it. We anticipate some changes based on those comments that we did receive, and we welcome any questions that you may have. Just hadn't had this ordinance in front of the Land Use Committee yet. So,
Questions from the committee?
Just got it.
Okay.
Don't know
Yeah,
anything
right.
about it.
And Councilor Anderson has been more actively involved in this particular ordinance as well.
I can tell you that a couple of points of discussion primarily have to do with the data plate and who is responsible for the data plate within a mobile home. That is a concern with the licensed manufactured home park owners. Also, we are proposing to have, before you can get an inspection, you need to get a placement permit. Right now, it's not clear in the ordinance the order of the things that need to happen when you bring a new mobile home into the community. So,
Councilor Rolfing?
Okay, data plate. What is a data plate?
okay, there's a couple of different things on a mobile home. A data plate has a lot of different information, and it is just a piece of paper that is usually on the utility, where the utility connection is, like on the back of the panel for the electrical panel. It gives things like the serial number of the mobile home. The big thing that it provides, that the HUD label, which is different, and I can explain that too, but the data plate has the thermal zones and the wind zones on it because they don't manufacture them to withstand South Dakota winters for all homes. Some are for southern climates.
Yeah, okay.
Right, and the problem is that pre-owned homes, that data plate, it's just a piece of paper that's stuck on the back of a cabinet or on the electrical panel box, the door of that, a lot of times falls off or gets painted over. So we're trying to figure out a way that we can accommodate being able to know what that mobile home was manufactured for, what temperature zone it was supposed to be placed in.
And then what was the other thing you mentioned?
The HUD plate is actually a metal plate that is bolted on to the axle of the home. And that has a lot of things on it too. The HUD certification, meaning that it was inspected when it came off the manufactured line. It has a serial number on it, but what it doesn't have is those whether temperature zones or wind zone information on it. So that's kind of where we're at. We're trying to figure out, working really quite well with the manufactured home park owners and managers to try to come up with some kind of I mean, they're concerned with it too. They're also concerned with removing abandoned homes, people who are getting foreclosed on and just leave, and then leave the home in their park, and it's not of any condition that they want to mess around with selling it. They're talking about maybe coming to the council for relief on tipping fees so we can get those into the landfill versus having it moved around in the city to different parks. So that's part of the discussion as well.
So this is proposed, this is a proposal, or
This is the first draft.
First draft.
Yep, and I did provide it. We were supposed to be before you last month, and we got put off. And so I emailed it to y'all, but I wanted to get the actual paper in front of you so you could give me comments. We'll continue to work through it, but I hadn't heard from you, so.
Shauna, then what's your timeline on this? Will you have another open house, or where are you headed with it?
Right. I think that we need to have another open house to gather up those comments and make revisions accordingly. And then maybe in the next month we'll have that open house. We don't have that set up yet. I just wanted to get a feel from the Land Use Committee on the direction of where this ordinance should go. My proposal would be to meet with those folks again and then come back to the Land Use Committee with a compromise ordinance, and then we can go from there.
Good. Other questions or comments from the committee?
What have you, excuse me.
No, go right ahead, Councilor.
What, the first meeting with them was cordial, and you got some ideas from them of what they wanted, and you've incorporated that into this, or have you
No,
not?
this is what they saw as well.
Okay, so that is incorporated into this?
It is not yet. This
Not
is,
yet.
This is the
Okay.
first draft. I
What
wanted to
were
make
the-
sure everybody was singing off the same piece of music. So
Okay.
Before I
What
made
were
any
the
changes.
differences they saw in here that they would like to see?
They would like to see that the license. You'll see that there's a duties of the licensee and
What
the
page?
occupant.
What page?
We're on page 3.
3? Duties of the
Where it
responsibility.
says, right, the responsibilities of the licensee and occupants is that section, and it lists out what the manager/owner of the mobile home park is responsible for, and also what the actual owner of the individual home is responsible for. Their big problem right now, or point of contention, is the verification of the data plate. The mobile home park owners do not want that responsibility. So they are concerned with that. They are that they think that should be on the owners of the mobile home, which, we can work with that. Some of the issues in here are pulling in other sections of the ordinance, of local code and state law. They thought it was redundant that if it was in state law, we didn't need to also put it in the local code. I think it's important because we hear from people all the time that, well, I don't want to have to go here and there and all over to know. I want one-stop shop and to know what my responsibilities are. The other thing was they wanted to be able to have the city get after the finance company and make them come and get the mobile homes when they're foreclosed on. I didn't think I could help them with that, but primarily the data plate is the big sticking point right now, and I think if we do some massaging in that area, we can get to a compromise.
Good. Councilor Karski.
I'm to understand that Councilor Anderson was involved in most of these meetings, or present for most of them, and he would have a good working knowledge of all of this information.
Highland Heights is a mobile home park that has had the most recent placements, and they had some homes last summer that came into the city that were not habitable, and he was instrumental in providing a message that those homes needed to be removed out of the park, fixed someplace, and then moved back in. Okay. So he was instrumental in that discussion, although he did not help draft this ordinance. But hopefully it addresses the concerns that he had at that time.
Okay. And just curious on the, not the HUD plate, the data plate. Did they have an alternative? I mean, somebody has to verify. It's the what do you want to call it? The licensee's park. It's their land. Who should verify the information if not them?
They think that it should be not the data plate, because a lot of times in like a used car, for example, when it's pre-owned, when it's not a brand new home, that data plate is inadvertently removed because it's been painted over or on purpose. Yeah. So they think that it should be we should just maybe require a copy of the title, because these are all titled, would be their recommendation.
Would the title give the same information?
The title doesn't give the weather zones, no. And it doesn't
Okay.
give the wind zone information, so.
They don't have Carfaxes on them either, I suppose.
No.
Interesting.
Is there any way to get that information off the serial number, from the serial number of them, which you can get off the HUD plate?
There is, but it's hard to backtrack. The older the home gets, the more difficult it is, and the more likely that it's been modified to the nth degree within that mobile home. Could have had insulation added. It's a lot of times not the same as it was when it rolled off the manufacturer line.
But would the data plate indicate that also, if it's been changed?
No, it would not, and that's kind of their point too, is that it could have been modified and data plate gone, and it's of no value anyway, so why are you requiring it?
Can you see it would seem to me that would be superficial things that you should be able to see. In other words, if it was manufactured in Florida and it's been brought up here, the insulation has got to be more, they've got to have done things that you should be able to see.
Yeah, and there was a park here that got stuck with two mobile homes that were actually designed for a southern climate, and they couldn't do anything with them. I'm not sure that they're occupied or what they ended up doing with them. I think they ended up hauling away, unable to sell them here.
I mean, you'd have frozen pipes.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not cold in the winter. It's
And the
some
furnace
serious
can't keep
problems.
up.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll let you work it out and come back to us,
sounds good.
but we appreciate your work on it, because this is a situation where, I kind of looked at that too when we started and up there, and we cannot have that kind of squalor, if you will, in Sioux Falls. It just was not good.
It's looking better now, though.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Shauna? Okay, thanks for your work. Look forward to seeing you again.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Open discussion from the committee? Anything for the good of the order? As I said, the next two meetings have pretty full agendas. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to